Hi everyone, we're going to use percentages here to figure out what the whole total is given the part and the percent. To do this, we're going to use a proportion. All percent proportions that I write will always be in this form. You could always flip it around or move it around a little bit, but typically this is how we write them. The part out of the whole equals the percent out of 100. And our keywords we look for part would be is the keyword for part. And then for the whole, we look for the keyword of. So is tells us it's the part, and of typically tells us that's the whole thing we're looking for. So for the first example here, we have the percent. That one's pretty clear. That'll be out of 100. And then it says is 39.69. So that's going to be the part, 39.69. We don't have the whole thing. That's x. We're going to figure out our scale factor here, pointing towards x to solve this proportion. So we're going to take 39.69 divided by 21. That will give us our scale factor of 1.89. So it's times 1.89 from right to left. We do 100 times that and we get x. X would equal 189. And we can always double check this. We can make sure this works. We do 39.69 divided by 189 just to make sure that this actually does give us the right percentage. That gives us 0.21, which we know is 21%, so we are correct. For the next one here, it's very similar. 45 is, so that's the part of what we don't know. So 45 out of x is 18 out of 100 for 18%. Again, we're going to look for a scale factor that points us to x. So we do 45 divided by 18 to get our scale factor, which is 2.5. So we do 100 times 2.5, and that gives us our answer, which is 250. For the last one here, a little bit trickier. So we're given the percent and the total cost, and we need to figure out what the original cost was. So it's a little bit tricky because the total cost is actually bigger than the whole thing, which sounds a little strange, but it'll make sense in a second. So the 1,484.23, that's actually the part. We don't have the whole thing, so we don't have the original. And the 9% out of 100. But we got to be careful here because it's actually 9% added on. This number here is not 9%. So we actually can't call it 9 out of 100. We've got to call it 109% since tax was added on. And now we can just solve this for x. So 109 to that number using our scale factor here. We're going to take 1,484.23 cents and we're going to divide that by 109. And that will give us our scale factor, which is 13.6168. It does keep going. Let's use a couple more digits here just to make sure we're accurate. So 13.616788990.826. That's a little crazy, but we're just going to copy it on our calculator and do times 100. And x will be 1,361.6788990.826, which should make sense. Saw it up above here. So the question is, that's not the original price, right? So what was the original price? Well, what happened here is that we must have had some rounding after the 9% tax was applied. So we got to round this to the nearest cent. It would be 1361.68. So that should have been the original price. And let's just double check to make sure this works. So 1361.68. Let's do that times 0.09. And that would give us 122.551. So nearest cent would be 0.55. If we take 122.55, add that on to 1361.68, we get the total price, the 1,484.23. So it does work out just fine. It's always good to check our work to make sure we are correct. But there's a little bit of rounding happening here, which is why we had to round the original price, because this new price here was rounded after the 9% tax.